Hey guys, Mike here. I just want to kind of give you guys a quick rundown of this pedal board. I posted an image of it on the Pedalboards of Doom page, and I've had a lot of questions about it. So I just figured I'd give you a quick rundown of what I've got going on here and to show you guys that you don't have to have deer hooves or tiny feet to operate it. Just kind of give you a history of what I had going on before. I had a mini board for a quick grab and go that was used with the HX Stomp in the top left corner. So I could just plug directly into a sound system. I didn't have to bring an amp. It was small and easy to go. I really enjoyed it just for the pure plug and play factor of it. It was just easy to plug in and you're ready to go. I had a bigger board with a looper or a switcher in it, so it would just program all my effects and switch them accordingly depending on what the song was programmed to do. And as nice as it was during performance, I really missed out on a lot of the plug and play factor and just coming to practice or practicing on the music and plugging them straight into the pedal board and just being ready to go, rather than sitting and programming the chorus, verse, and everything of each song. So I decided to get rid of that, get a smaller board. I removed a few pedals, and I got swapped out a few pedals for a smaller condensed version with top mounted jacks. So the top mounted jacks definitely help a whole lot with getting them more condensed form here. And then all this fits in a Pelican 1600 case very nicely. So to quickly run through everything, obviously everyone has a tuner because you can't tune by ear in the middle of a performance. Then it runs into my volume pedal, or actually it runs to the tuner out of the volume pedal. So the volume pedal is first. It's an Ernie Ball volume pedal junior, but it's been modded by this one's Mind Effects a long time ago. Still works great, has a buffer in it just to keep that signal flow pushed, and it has a little bit of a lighting effect underneath of it. Hopefully you can see that, but it's awesome. Going out of that, I go into my Jackson Audio Bloom. The Bloom has like 5 compressors in one. Once again, which is super awesome if you're someone who likes to switch out guitars, or, you know, depending on what songs you're playing, or if you're in a cover band, you can just have a compressor that fits that instrument. So obviously, like humbuckers or Les Paul style guitars have a lot more compression and a lot more output, so you can put a lighter compressor on, or something with single coils like the Telecaster I'm playing. You can push the compression a little bit more to get a little more output from your pickups and to get an even volume throughout all of your strings. Before going to the next pedal, just to let you know, as far as the amp and everything I'm going through, that's through the HX Stomp. It's got obviously amp models in it that sound really great. There's a matchless guitar model in it right now, matchless amp model in it right now, and that's kind of the heart of this pedal board. So I can shut the amp models off and have 6 new effects that can go straight into my guitar amp, or I can have just plug directly into a sound system and not have to worry about bringing my amps. So depending on what kind of venue I'm playing at, or if I'm just trying to get in and out of a gig, that's very nice to have. So this is what my clean tone sounds like with the compressor, or I'll do without the compressor. Also, real quick to let you know, this compressor has an EQ section at the top, so I'm pushing my treble and my mids a little bit, just to give you a heads up. So we'll just shut that off just so you can see what it sounds like. With the EQ, with the compressor, I'm sure some of you guys might be asking, why does it sound a little dirty? I like to run the amp on the my real amps or on the HX Stomp a little dirty, to where I can just push it harder and just drum harder to get a distorted sound or a overdrive sound, and play softer to get a clean sound. So pushing or strumming hard to get the more overdriven sound. Playing softer. All right, I'm going from the Bloom into the Organizer. I'm using it as like an octave pedal. It's also got a few more cool features built into it just because that's what Earthquaker devices do. They just make awesome sounding gear. So here's how that sounds like. I'll use that either as just a cool effect to add with a lot of other modulated stuff, or to kind of push a guitar solo or solo sounding type thing. It just adds a little extra layer in there and helps you stick out. So next is my drive section. So it goes from the Organizer down to the Scranton Screamer. I'm going to go over this in a little backwards order. My first stage overdrive on the drive section here is my M Drive Mach 2, which is the pink pedal here. The reason I do that is I actually like running my second stage behind my first stage, and then the second stage drive just smashes into the front of the first stage. It's got a cool kind of compressed, punchy sound that way, rather than having the second stage drive just drive the sound that's already overdriven, if that makes sense. So I'll play without the Mach or the M Drive Mach 2, and then with it back on. So. So it just pushes that amp model inside the Stomp a little bit more, and does the same thing with a real guitar amp, the way I have it set up. So next is the Scranton Screamer, which is a tube screamer model. And just to let you know, all these pedals here are all Emerson pedals, and I stopped buying pedals based off of just sound and just bought them because I'm a huge Office fan, and I'd rather my pedal board look cool, because a lot of these effects or these overdrive pedals that you buy nowadays are copies of other overdrives from the past. So anymore, I don't think you have to worry about the sound, rather than just does it look cool. So I bought these based off of that. So this is the Scranton Screamer and how it sounds. So a lot of times whenever I do have my effects set up the way that I do, the Scranton Screamer and the clone, the Goldenface is a clone. Those two pedals are they have more of a mid-range bump, which definitely helps with sticking out in the mix, but sometimes it sounds a little mushy to me. So the way I had the Mach 2 set up is it cleans up that mid-range punch or that hump in the Scranton Screamer. So here's without the Mach or the M Drive Mach 2 on. With the M Drive. So a lot of times when I'm playing, I'll vamp in the song. Essentially what I mean is I'll build my drives up in the song depending on where the song's going. If it sounds like it needs more push, normally I have two drives on at the same time. So with that being said, I might start off on the chorus a little quieter. It's a little driven, but maybe a little bit quieter. So just once again to kind of show you how I'm using this board. So from those two drives, I go into my Goldenface clone. I just, I feel like the Klon is now a staple of every pedal board, but genuinely, I like the sound of Klons. They definitely have a lot of a mid-range bump that helps with sticking out in a mix. So here's how that sounds like. Now I want to play all three on. A lot of times I'll use the Klon to just shove everything over and just really get a fat, saturated, kind of a 80s Marshall sounding overdrive tone. So that's my drive section. From the drive section, it goes into my modulation style effects. So next is the Matthew Effects Conductor, which is a Tremolo style pedal. This is what it sounds like. I like my tremolos to be really have that like off on type sound. So I normally have the depth all the way up and the gain pushed a little bit for the volume on that tremolo. Also, I normally have the tap division set up on it as 16th notes, so it sounds really choppy depending on what the tap tempo is. And that's going to segue into my next section here. All my time-based effects on here are controlled by the center pedal up at the top. That is a Selah Quartz timer. This is the first version of the version 2, if that makes sense. Version 2 1.0, I suppose. But it's sending a tap tempo out to the conductor, and it's sending MIDI tempo or time to my delay and my HX Stomp that has a delay effect built into it. It also sends MIDI signal out to all those pedals, so depending on what song I'm switching to, it'll automatically tell my reverb and my delay to be on this setting for this song whenever I switch out presets or when I switch songs. So that's been an awesome pedal. I really enjoy it. It definitely makes it easy to just... I just love that it gives you the option to send out MIDI signals or MIDI messages on multiple channels, so I can add tons of MIDI effects and it would be able to set the presets to all those. So anyways, going out of the conductor goes into the Chemist, the Chemist, or I can't say it right, Chemist modulation effect. It's got 3 modulation effects built into it, and you can use 2 of them as preset effects at any time. So I have a chorus for the first one. And then the second one, I used to always have a flanger on my board, but for the sake of space, I figured the Chemist and the phaser was a close stand-in for flange. So... Anyways, going on, that goes straight into the front of the HX Stomp. And then I have my reverb, my Ventris reverb, and my Nemesis delay are going into the effects loop of the Stomp. And the effects loop block on the Stomp is at the end of my amp and guitar cab. It just sounds more studio as far as effects go. So kind of like playing through a guitar amp through a recording and then adding plug-in effects or effects post. You just get a little more control of how that delay sounds or that reverb sounds with the mix. So I'll play the reverb first, the delay first. The Nemesis delay, I normally have it on a tape delay setting because it sounds great on this pedal. So this is my quarter note delay. So something cool about the Nemesis here is I have the disaster area MIDI controller going into the Stomp and then going into the Nemesis in the Ventris, and I have each button on here set for two different delays and two different reverb types. So normally when I play between a .8 note delay and a quarter note delay. So if I just hit the switch, it just goes between quarter note and .8 note. So just give you an idea of how that works. So I can switch between the two of those, or I have this switch here in the center that will switch between the 8 presets I have on here. So if I need to get to my reverse delay, and then we're back to my quarter note or .8 note delay. So next is my reverb. This thing is awesome. It's just sounds great. It's a really great reverb. It's got a lot of great reverbs built into it, and it has a lot of flexibility as far as what you can do. I also like it because of the small form factor. So this is what my reverb normally sounds like. I have it on the hall setting. So that's just my standard on all the time reverb, and then this here will just turn on a more washy reverb. So it's going to have a bit more decay. It's going to have a little more top end on it. Here's how it sounds. And then the presets I have built up on the Ventris, preset 2 is more of my shimmer, big, outlandish, fill in the gaps pad sound. And then I have an extremely washed out big monster sound here. Just kind of jacking around there for a second. So to kind of finish out what I have going on here, I have an extra delay set up on the HX Stomp. It's always set to a quarter note delay. I could program it to switch between a quarter note and a dot eighth note or whatever I want it on there too, but right now I just need one more quarter note delay. The reason I do that is sometimes I want to do something rhythmic, and so I will use both delays for that. So quarter note, dot eighth note delay, rhythmic, fun stuff. Finally, the last thing here, one thing that's really cool about the Stomp is just you can have the switches toggle between presets or programming, or let's say I wanted less drive or more drive on the amp. That's what I have the final switch doing. So the final switch is like a solo boost. Not only does it raise the volume of the overall volume of the Stomp, but it also raises the gain on the amp, so it just pushes it a little bit more and really gets a fat, saturated tone. So without further ado, so anyways, that's my pedalboard setup. I can use it direct, I can use it with guitar amps. It's just a nice jack of all trades. Something I wanted to go over with real quick, as far as the way I have it set up with the amp being a little overdriven, is if I really need it to get cleaned up more, I can just pull the volume back on the volume pedal. I know a lot of times people like to use their guitar knob, but if I'm playing, it's easier for me just to use my foot to do that. So here's everything being pushed. Also, I'd like to point out that I'm going to be one of the first advocates to switch from Altoids to the Cracker Barrel tinier mint cans. So Cracker Barrel, if you want to send me sponsorship, that'd be great. So anyways, that's my pedalboard setup. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Appreciate it.